Chatter by Ethan Kross. Summary from 4-Minute Books. Written by Maria Diak and narrated by Jonathan McGinley. One-sentence summary. Chatter aims to help its readers make sense of the inner mind chatter that seems to be taking over our minds at times, and help you quiet the negative thoughts, stop the overthinking that often leads to feelings of anxiety and depression, and learn useful practices to help yourself alleviate negative emotions. Favorite quote from the author: "The mind is flexible if we know how to bend it. If you have a fever, you can take something to bring it down. Likewise, our mind has a psychological immune system. We can use our thoughts to change our thoughts by adding distance." Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you just started creating scenarios in your head, then felt bad about it? Or maybe your mind chatter was so intense that you couldn't find a moment to just relax and simply not think about anything. Perhaps you're struggling to quiet down your thoughts at night as well, and meditation feels like an impossible feat for you. If you answered yes to any of these questions, Chatter by Ethan Kross might be the perfect antidote for you. The human brain allows us to do remarkable things. In fact, we are the only species with the ability to carry out introspections. These help us improve our perception of life, our decision-making process, and ultimately evolve. However, too much introspection might turn into an unstoppable mind chatter, and the mind tends to dive deep into negative self-talk and overthinking scenarios, which in turn drag us down. To learn how to stop your inner chatter from taking over and make your mind work for you instead, we'll explore 3 of the most useful lessons from the book. 1. Our mind can only process so much information at a time, so make sure you feed it the right amount. 2. Challenging times blur our thinking, so the solution is to zoom out and get a fresh perspective. And 3. Talking about what hurts us isn't enough to move past trauma, as we need to meet our cognitive needs too. To fully understand these lessons, we must take each and every one aside and analyze it in detail. So here we go. Lesson 1. To speed up your cognitive functions, you'll have to filter the information that you allow in your mind. According to the book, the human brain can only keep up with 3 to 5 pieces of information at once, and this is when the person has all cognitive functions in optimal parameters. To better understand this concept, just think about this: between 125,690,45 and 125,690,45. Which is easier to remember? Naturally, the latter will be easier to memorize. That's because it's structured in 3 tiny bits of information instead of an unbroken string. Therefore, to keep up with certain functions we're performing at a given time, our brain must be in optimal condition, meaning having enough space to receive and process information. Much like a computer, our brain functions by handling a limited amount of data at once, and if you feed it more than it can process, chances are it'll crash. As such, overthinking, rumination, and inner chatter can quickly fill up our brains with unnecessary data. These keep our neurons busy processing instead of performing productive functions. That's one of the many downsides of allowing mind chatter to take over. Another would be that if it affects our physical health and our relationships. Studies suggest that people who deal with excessive inner chatter are poor listeners. They also don't know when to stop oversharing with friends and relatives. This in turn pushes them away when they start feeling uncomfortable. In terms of health, mind chatter causes stress, which in turn causes cortisol levels to rise. Unfortunately, this hormone can have disastrous effects on our health and cause dangerous illnesses. Lesson 2. When in doubt, try to zoom out and change your perspective on the problem. Oftentimes, our times of hardship take their toll on us. They make us feel like the problems we're facing are much bigger than they actually are. Take any intense challenge you've encountered in the past and remember how it made you feel. Did you think you'd overcome it so successfully that you won't think about it again and life will go back to normal? Probably not. However, you can use past experiences to help yourself when mind chatter takes over again. When you find yourself facing tough life situations and catch your mind trying to take control over you, simply zoom out. Look at the problem from a different perspective, such as if it was happening to a friend, or how you deal with it if you were someone else. You can also try temporal distancing, the author suggests. Think about how much your problem will matter in 10 years, or any prolonged time frame. Take COVID-19, for example. The world has seen multiple pandemics, so using this technique in the middle of chaos could help you realize that eventually things will go back to normal. Anything but ruminating on the problem and letting your thoughts take over is a healthier choice. If you spend time overthinking your situation, your stress response will activate and will eventually zoom in until we lose all perspective.
Now, before we get into lesson number 3, I want to give a quick shout out to Shortform. Shortform aims to provide the most in-depth book summaries on the planet, and therefore, their extensive book guides cover not 3, not 10, but all the important ideas from a book. They even include useful exercises to make sure you'll actually implement the ideas in your life. If you're the kind of person who wants to get the absolute most out of any book they read, Shortform is the perfect tool for you. Use our affiliate link below this video to sign up for a free 5-day trial and secure a 20% discount should you keep your subscription. You'll also support the channel at no extra cost, as we'll get a small commission for referring you. Sign up today and start learning right away. And with that, back to the video.
Lesson 3. To let go of negative emotions, we need to fulfill our emotional needs, while also working on our cognitive ones. Growing up, we're taught that sharing our emotions and talking about what makes us feel certain ways is the healthy thing to do. Even the ancient philosopher Aristotle stated that one must get rid of their pain by letting it all out. In fact, we even have a natural inclination to do so. We reach out to our parents as babies whenever we feel a slight discomfort, and then later in life, to our friends and closest ones. So how come that people still suffer after expressing their hurt? Isn't that enough? As a matter of fact, it isn't. Of course, communicating about what causes us pain will eventually help us meet our emotional needs. However, people pay too little attention to our need for perspective, and not just empathy. Our brain needs to heal too, just as much as our heart does. The solution? Find people that can come up with solutions and offer you fresh perspectives. Oftentimes, we get so caught up in our problems that we fail to see the way out. This is where our friends, family, or professionals can step in and help us solve the maze. While we need to feel heard, we also need to find a rational way out, so we don't keep living in the pain. What's also worth considering is the idea of a board of advisors. Usually, the opinions of more people can help us more than just the ideas of one individual, simply because more perspectives lead to more ideas out of the situation. Try seeking help in more than one place, and take what's useful for you out of each point of view.
Hey, this is Nick, the founder of 4-Minute Books, and if you feel even a tiny bit smarter after watching this book summary, you should watch this next one and discover even more tips and tricks on how to think better and get smarter from another expert researcher. Click on through and let's get started.